It's going to take a couple of minutes, but we'll just have her join us in the process, right?
Yeah, sounds good. If you want to plug your light back in.
Angel in Joy. I saw that. I was looking for her and I couldn't find her, and then I saw it on the calendar. Morgan had put it down with her Facebook name.
Yeah, that's her Facebook. That's her Facebook account name.
Yeah, because does she work with people? Is she a practitioner?
Well, she does a lot of different things. So, she's an artist, and as well as she's gone through a lot of healing. So she helps people with tapping. She helps, she does cards. Does all kinds of she does all kinds of different things.
I think her halo just came on the screen.
Yeah.
Hey, Angeline, what's going on?
Hi.
It's good to see you again. Long time no see. We enjoyed we enjoyed the show. That was a great show on
Yeah,
the
that was awesome.
the missing link third chapter third channel chapter
Yeah.
removed from YouTube twice. So
Yep.
this everybody is Jesse Howe from the missing link and his quiet the plug in the receptacle the energy behind him, Angeline. We got to meet them the other day because we went on their show, which was really cool. We had a nice 2 hours. It was very cool, no doubt. And so I was like, Morgan, you got to get him on. You got to get him on. She goes, I already got him on. So she didn't waste any time.
Right on.
But we were remarking how not just the similarities between the two of you and the two of us, but what you see in a lot of couples. And not that it's not trying to stereotype anybody or any couple, but there seems to be a predominant uh, template or pattern or characteristics, attributes where she is a little quieter, kind of behind the scenes. She's the antenna. She's pulling in, let's just say, sacred wisdom and code and higher frequency experiences, or you know, and then he is the creator to her creation energy. She's like the dreamer and he's the dream maker, or and or she's got the vision and he's the like she's the queen bee and he's a worker bee, type of thing. And it just came through because it was obvious, in talking to you, Angeline, that you don't have the typical routine when it comes to what you see in the spectrum, of light and sound and so on. So we were
What-
kind of enthused about that.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I just mean that in these relationships, the feminine seems to be the one that receives the information, and then the masculine seems to be more of the doer. Not that they don't have both of the same qualities that cross over, but there seems to be a predominant characteristic that she pulls in the information, so to speak. Is that how it works for y'all, or am I being presumptuous?
Well, I'm not afraid, and I've been out there, just out there going get it. She's kind of been a little bit more quiet. Lots have happened to her in her life, and so now with this, relationship, it's opened her up to being a lot more brave and to being able to be out there. And now yesterday she was in front of the cameras when we did some 5G testing, and she's all over TikTok now, and she's just a lot of people took clips of that and put it on, and so it's actually gone a little bit viral, that video, and
Wow.
it's good that because she's such a beautiful soul, and the world needs to see more of her.
Wow.
He's so sweet.
What's that?
I said he's so sweet.
Angeline, do you feel a bit hesitant to get out there? Or are you over it now?
Um, I think if I try to think of something on my own, maybe I get too nervous. But then when I'm with Jesse, I seem to just like flow. It seems fine. I like, so I don't know if I like overthink it and then psych myself out maybe if I'm trying to do something myself or what. But and I've also kind of been away from the camera for quite a while. So, after you haven't been on for a while, it kind of like, it's easier when you're like doing it consistently, right?
Yeah, can be a bit into. Yeah, definitely. And even
Yeah.
then, I don't know how Jesse feels, but I've been doing this for over 5 years, and uh, it, it does get easier. I think it gets more natural, but you still have your self conscious moments, and you know, I like what you said too, because anytime I start to think about what I might be talking about, it just messes everything up. It's just like stay present, and it'll come when you need it, but it always comes, and it does, but it just comes at the last second. You can't.
When I get nervous, sometimes I like forget a lot, so, or I'll lose my words. So that makes it hard, right? When you're like there and you're like,
Oh
what
yeah.
am I saying? And what was I
Oh
gonna
yeah.
do? And then you're kind of lost, right? And you're like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
now I'm here, right?
I was
So
having that happen quite a bit for a while, like toward the end of last year, and I was like, "What's going on? Am I losing my?" I'd get right in the middle of a thought, and sometimes I could work my way out of it, and sometimes I would attempt to, but I'm sure certain people could pick up on I lost my train of thought. And sometimes I would just say, "I don't know what the hell I was talking about," and just fess up to it. Um, so, how long have you all been together, and how did you meet? What was that like? Oh, this is going to be a
um,
good story. I can tell already.
I just bumped her. I bumped her knee so that way she could go. She could
Yeah.
talk about it, so it should get her giggling.
um, well, it's been over a year now, and we kind of met under full moon. Like, we knew each other sort of, like, even before we knew each other. So a long time ago, he was doing lives with a good friend of mine, and I was jumping on her lives because I was pretty close with her at the time, and I just loved her, and she was inspiring me. And she was doing lives with him, so I was like shooting these questions out, and he was like answering some of my questions, and we didn't even realize that it was each other until like maybe a few months ago. We're looking at them. I'm like, hey, I was asking you questions like some years
Three
ago
three
or
years
three
three
years
years ago.
ago. And I'm like, I didn't even know it was you. Like, I didn't remember.
You
Like,
didn't
we
make
had
the
no idea
connection?
who each other were, right?
Wow.
And then yeah, and so he was doing lives with her, and then when I was visiting with her, because I stayed with her for a while, and I was doing lives with her, and he was just like saw me and just knew that he would meet me one day. And she was talking about him all the time and how awesome he was. And I was like, oh, I got to meet this person. I had no idea that it was the person online that I had seen. And I guess we were online friends. So after that, we started chatting a bit more and talking. And then we decided to meet. And the very first time we met, we went and collected spring water, which everybody loves now because we go do that on a regular basis.
Mm.
And I remember like collecting wildflowers, and we just, like, I don't know, it was like quiet but comfortable. Like, it was, do you think so? Yeah, it was just like quiet but comfortable. And he showed up head to toe in purple, his favorite color. And he had Hawk, and it was really cool. And so we talked and hung out a bit more, and then I think the first real time that we connected was on a full moon in the mountains, and it was beautiful and amazing. And it was like electric. Like, I'd never felt so much energy with somebody in my entire life. Like, it, and it was just, I don't know. It was just like automatic. It was amazing. So we've been pretty like, I think our relationship started out pretty intense, both good and bad. It wasn't like this. It was kind of like whoosh, boom, boom. It was intense, which made for some really exciting moments, and then really like like turbulent moments. And we really had to learn each other and figure each other out because I don't know if you know much about signs, but I'm an Aries sun, and he's a Scorpio. And so that can be a pretty intense mix. And but we also had a lot of things in our charts that flowed, like I have a Cancer rising and things like that. So I think the more comfortable we got with each other and the more we relaxed and like that trust was built with each other, the more we realized like how perfect we are for each other when we just like trust and like be ourselves. And
get out of the way.
yeah.
Just let
And
it be.
I laugh because when I was like, I wasn't really looking for anything and neither was he, but I remember that in the back of my heart and my mind, I really just wanted a relationship where I could surrender and feel safe. And surrender was the big theme for me. And so just really putting a lot of trust in him and the universe through this whole thing allowed it to kind of transform and mold into what it was going to become, instead of me feeling nervous and trying to control anything or whatever. Like, didn't start out perfect, but just having that in the back of my head of like trust and surrender and trust the universe, right? Even when I'm nervous or whatever, kind of let things unfold into whatever they were. Like, even when I wasn't sure, I didn't understand things or whatever, you know, that I think let it kind of become what it is.
Yeah. Dang, that's a mic drop, Jesse. So you said that there was, of course, the stuff that happened 2-3 years before, which you weren't even, neither one of you were making the connection, and then you start talking, I guess, on Facebook, and then eventually decide you're going to meet, and then you said something about the mountains. Is that two separate things, or does the mountain
Oh, yeah.
have a
So
is that yeah? Go ahead.
yeah, so when she saw me, I was doing lives with a friend of ours, mutual friend, Melissa. We did. She had 45 different subjects, and she wanted to. She does this course, and she's got 45 different things like serenity, surrender, love, patience, hope, kindness. And so she asked if I could go live with her because she was a little bit nervous to go live in front of the camera and stuff. And I had been doing lives before, and I'm not really nervous in front of the camera. One of my, key qualities is I work, best under pressure. So I'm not, if anything happens, I'm really quick thinking
and I completely crash under pressure.
so
Hilarious.
So we started, doing the lives, and then, when I saw, she was went to my friend Melissa's, and she was there because Melissa helps people that are going through some trauma, and Angelina has gone through some severe trauma, and, she was, in a very hard situation that, she needed to break herself free from religion and break herself free from, kind of the crazy situation that she was in. And so she went out, and she was brave and went live and just poured her heart into, all the
Wow.
stuff that had happened to her. And, she just
Now,
let it out there
was this before y'all met?
way before we met. And this
Okay.
was
Now,
like maybe like a year.
were you aware of her when she was doing this, or did you
No, I
kind of?
didn't know at all.
Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
know at all. I didn't know of her. And then, but she was staying at my friend Melissa's house, kind of, Melissa was helping her out. And then she went on live, and I was watching this, and I was like, wow, I just felt,
That's what I
like
meant. That's what I meant. Like you saw her, like you got a dose of her before you actually met her.
yeah. So I seen her, and I was like, I was very captivated. I was very like, I definitely wanted to meet her and stuff. But at the time I had a girlfriend. And so I was definitely not interested in going there at that time, when she was in Calgary, because, I did have a girlfriend. And so that didn't interest me, at all, because, I'm very loyal and stuff. So, I didn't end up going there. And then, that was in, I think, believe the summertime was the summer before. And then in March, well, when the lockdown happened, I started this thing called the High Vibe Love Tribe. And so, and because I've been big into like researching and the conspiracies and all this kind of stuff for almost 30 years. 30 years ago, I was trying to organize the people that I were with that we were going to take over the government 30 years ago, because I knew how, horrible things were. And then, my path got kind of sidetracked with, alcohol and drugs and things for a long time before, I quit all of that and just kind of started to focus back on, fixing, humanity's problems and figuring out what's going on. And so I've been, I've been very, very hard at that. And then once this happened in, kind of January, February of 2020, when this, these people started dropping and all this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden people started doing all this research and everybody started to learn. And I felt a little bit more vindicated that I didn't have to hammer it so hard into people, that people were actually out there asking questions and researching. And so it made me feel really good that I could like maybe relax a little bit and not go so hard into, trying to like wake people up, I guess, to kind of say. And then so we started this thing called the High Vibe Love Tribe, where we got together. It started with Meditate for the Earth with David Wilcock. And he was doing his singing bowls. And then I decided to go live, and I got a Tibetan singing bowl, and I started going, and all of a sudden 10, 15, 20 people started showing up. And then we just kind of hung out and we meditated and prayed for the earth and stuff on that day. And everybody's like, well, you should come back tomorrow. We like this. And then, so we started the next day, and all of a sudden that it created the High Vibe Love Tribe, ask everybody for good names for this, what we're going to do. And it was a place, this nice safe space for people to come and get together, where there was no, away from the conspiracies, away from what was going on in the world, away from the lockdowns, away from all this kind of stuff, where we just started off, put on some electronic music, and I started dancing and then lifting weights and did an hour of just in front of the camera, just relaxing to music, and and like getting pumped up, energetic, and all that kind of stuff. And then after the hour, well, it started at 15 minutes, then worked its way up to half an hour, worked its way up to 45 minutes. The better I was getting into shape, the longer it went. So then it went to about an hour of the dance workout part, and then we chilled it down. We put on a guided meditation. Everybody sat there, we did a guided meditation. And then we put on some healing frequencies while I was doing the Tibetan singing bowl. And then we did some healing runes where you pick out the stones out of the bag. And so we did this every single day for 11 and a half months straight. There was 7 days a week.
So, and this is where you guys started talking?
So this is how Angeline started coming to the High Vibe Love Tribe and started hanging out and sending messages. And then she sent me, some messages, and then we just started chatting and we started talking. And so that's kind of what spurred this whole thing on, was the High Vibe Love Tribe.
Who made the first romantic overture?
Gosh, I don't even know. I don't know.
Did it just happen? I mean,
yeah, it was so well. It just the way that she came, and because she was in a crazy situation, and then she was asking me some interesting questions about different things, and then we just started chatting. And it wasn't, I don't say maybe a romantic part of it. It was just we just started to get like good friends, like talking about everything. And then next thing you know, we're spending hours every single night talking together.
I mean, at some point it had to dawn on one of you, if not both of you, hey, something's going on here. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, was there ever a moment of acknowledgement or just admission?
I just knew that I really honored him, and I was starting to do lives at the same time too. I was doing 15 meditations every day with my kids live, and we were doing fun little things and reading stories and whatnot. And I had another friend that was doing these little dances, and I saw him, and I'm like, this is what the world needs right now. They need real people to connect with that are just being human, encouraging people and loving them and whatnot. And I really was inspired by him. I remember I would start mentioning on my lives about him and what he's doing and all that kind of stuff. And it encouraged me to keep going, right? And keep being brave. And I think we were both on an adventure. I know I was certainly on a journey where I'm like, I need to be brave. I need to like stop being afraid. I was on a real awakening journey, and he was kind of catching me on the tail end of all that. And so I was on fire and he was on fire, and I think like we just loved the connection. Like we loved like it was really awesome when we'd connect. We'd like fire each other up and we'd encourage each other. And
Sounds pretty hot. Sounds pretty hot to me. So I think when we were on your show, I think I picked up on Angeline that something you had said that gave me the impression that you kind of like your abilities really came online recently. Like it felt like within a couple of years or so. Were you
um,
always very sensitive, or did something change in the last couple of years where it would became something that was more doable for you, or what was happening there?
So she gone through real heavy trauma in her life.
Yeah,
A lot of being abused and things from a very, very, very young age. And in order for her to stay safe, she needed to check out of the situation. So at the time she would check out, she would connect with source and
right.
connect with spirit. So she's been, you know, gifted and connected for a very, very, very long time. And she's throughout this journey she's had a lot of things happen to her where people would come up to her, or she would have to go up to somebody and spirit would tell her she needs to talk to this person. And so she's felt this like big connection for a very, very long time. She's just now opening up more publicly because she was
Yeah.
been very, very, very shy. And now she's starting to feel a lot more brave to be able to be in front of the camera, in front of the public eye.
Well, again, there's a similarity. It's the same pattern with us. I mean, she had the same type of thing occur, from like 3 to 13, uh, and that was, I think where you could trace her high level connection is because of the disassociation and leaving the body and going into dimension and into connection with source. And I've heard other people talk about it. It makes total sense. And then of course coming back like around the time you guys get together, where the person is embodying it or functioning with it, as a more of like an asset instead of a liability. But so and again, you're on camera and you're out there all the time, and she's quiet in the back with the high frequency thing. It's the same thing over here. Um, but now, so when you came together, and I love the way that you said it was like this, you know, and the way you said it too, without any charge whatsoever. Like you can tell, y'all really have cleared these things. It's really interesting. Do you feel like that individually? Was there any type of with that coming together, the fire and the fire, besides all the good stuff? And I'm just kidding. But like, did you feel like you expanded because of the connection as well? Was it like an immediate thing? You mentioned earlier you were going on an adventure. Was it like that when y'all started to hang out?
definitely an adventure for me. I was like, I think because I'd been afraid and so kind of very isolated, and I had lived in a lot of fear and stuff, that when I was breaking out, I'm like, I'm ready for adventure. And I met the right person because, man, he was like, right from the get go, we're going on adventures, right? And so that was really cool. Like, that was part of the whole experience for me to be like, okay, I wanted this, and here we go. And this was like my little, like my answer from the universe. It's like, you've been preparing for this for years. You've been breaking off fears and lies, and you're ready for this, and here you go. And then there was Jesse, and we like went on all these adventures, and I had never really done much at all as far as we didn't travel anywhere far. We stayed within Canada, but we started going on trips, or we'd just be like, and he was always like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it'd be like, where are we going? And he'd be like, I don't know, let's find out. Like, let's just
Yeah.
go. Let's
Yeah,
just,
that's the
like, he
best
was
way.
just go. And so it was really a big letting go thing for me to be like, hey, we're doing this. Let's go. Let's do it. Right. And that was really, really good for me.
So, and you were talking about when you first met during that time period, feeling electricity, or it was electric. Jesse, were you feeling anything like that, or what were you feeling as you guys started to hang out together in person?
Well, I've gone through a lot in my life and I've been in a lot of situations and, like I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. Most of my life I've lived without fear after, I got bullied as a kid. And once I learned how my strength that I did have and how powerful I actually was, then I, just took life with no fear and just took it wherever it took me. Traveled all around the world and did a lot of different things. And so, meeting Angeline, it was, so nice to meet someone so genuine and someone that, I could truly trust. And, that was like a big thing for me because, being involved with all the things that I've gone through in life, that, why people would want to attach to you or why they would want you in their life and things. A lot of people would do that for whatever monetary or this or for that, for lots of different reasons, reasonings behind it. It was nice to meet someone that was, actually genuinely liked me. And I could
Right.
tell that she like really, really liked me. And that was, the big thing. And, and she is just so sweet. And, she really, has such a beautiful heart that, wasn't hard to fall in love with someone that's so beautiful and, seeing the world in such a different way than I was normally accustomed to.
Yeah, especially where they come from too, right? I mean, the journey they had uh, when they were younger and so on. Uh, so when she came in to the picture, and you were, I guess, accustomed to a certain life vibrationally, based on what you'd experienced. What? Because I picked up on her transmitter aspect. I mean, like I know that you can see things and you're more sensitive than many people. I mean, it's just it's there. Was that something new to you, Jesse, in that it was so close to you and becoming part of your basically your daily life? I mean, was that an element that you were already familiar with, or was it something that you had to kind of go, "Wow, that's pretty cool"? I've never heard of that, or I've never experienced that.
Or she opened my eyes to a lot of different things, like, just even her muscle testing. She all of a sudden she like takes anytime she's going to take her vitamins or take something, she muscle tests it. And I'm watching her test it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just testing to see if this is good for me or a dosage and stuff. And I never ever experienced that. And then, a lot of things, what she talked about is, the connection and, like we'd be sitting there on a live together because once we started to come together, she started coming on the High Vibe Love Tribe with me and we were doing the lives together and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I saw a fairy that was like, kind of playing with your hat. I'm like, I didn't never experience any of this stuff before, right? And so a lot of that, she opened my mind and my eyes to a lot of different things that I never knew about before.
Wow. So, Angeline, in the connection that you have, as this was all starting to unfold, did you get any information personally through the higher ups or whatever of what you were stepping into, or who he was, or what was going on? I knew it.
Uh, I don't know. I like, I don't know. I really knew my own adventure with Source, and I don't. I had been, like he said, I'd been through a lot, and a lot of the trauma that I'd been through was from a baby, um, till I was 8 years old when it all went to court and blew up, and there was a lot of sexual abuse and disassociation and uh, disconnection and things from this world in order to survive. A lot of the things that happened, I'd black out to survive, and then it like wound up being complicated PTSD and all this kind of stuff. I had to figure out. I'd panic no matter what, like if I was in public or whatever. And And so one thing, as I started getting free from religious fears and things like that, and healing, I worked with a bunch of different healers before I met Jesse. I don't know if you've heard of like Genevieve or Chris Bale, or I don't know. There's a bunch of different people that I worked with, and I kind of said to myself after getting rid of these fears, like, I can't believe that I was in these for so long. Like, I was so afraid of everything for so long. I had no idea who I was. I was afraid of everybody, everything. I was afraid of God. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was all a lie. I was finally starting to let source love in and like really feel that. And it was overwhelming. And one of my trauma healers helped me reconnect with my body, which was a little bit traumatic because I didn't realize how much I like absolutely hated and detested my body for what it put me through, right? Like just because I have this, like, right, because I'm whatever. So I just, that was really hard. And one thing I said to myself that I was taking back was I was taking this back. I'm going to take my sexuality back and my pleasure. And that was a huge thing for me. I'm getting lost.
No, that's okay. I mean, obviously, the two of you coming together, it sounds like that
Mm-hmm.
that had, or maybe it was in line with where you were at, and but it seems like, or what, higher alignment or more healing or something. I mean, has the relationship, given everything that you went through, I mean, has it been directly part of your healing?
um, I think I couldn't let anything in before. Like, I couldn't let in such an incredible vibration and a high vibration and energy. And he's like very high energy and very out there person. I couldn't let something in like that until I was ready.
Yeah.
But I've always known Jesse. If that, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I've always known him. Um, Even looking at like past pictures and whatever, I'm like, he's always been like in my dreams. He's always been like my crush, my dream guy, my whatever that I've never met. And then here he was, and I've seen us in so many ways, even growing up, and I've seen different situations. Like, he would dance with me. He would just stand, and even with his hips hurting, he would just stand with me for like ever in the room and just slow dance with me. And I'm like, what? Like, I've never had anything like this in my life. And I don't know, I was ready to like let him in and all of that energy. And I was like really in love with him. Like, I don't know what source set up or whatever, but like, holy wow, I was like, that full moon night was just like, wow. Like, I never felt so much like passion towards someone and just love and just love. Like, it wasn't even like, I'm not even saying sexual, I'm just saying like that energy I was just so attracted to. Like, I've seen him, I knew his heart, we connected on what we believed about source and that this is about love, and like, screw fear and screw all the BS they're teaching, and people need to know that they're loved, and people need to know who, and like, we were passionate about it. And in the same place, we got to the same place on totally different adventures, and then we met at the right time. And I think it was
This is the stuff
very,
universes. This is the stuff that births universes.
yeah.
100%. And that first time it was the second time that we met, but it was the first time that we kissed.
Oh,
We
wait,
were
wait,
on a
wait. Okay, hang
we were
on.
on a
Hold
park
on a second.
bench.
Yeah, you can tell us how it happened.
Yeah, well, we were on a park bench in the in the mountains,
Uh,
and she was there with a couple girlfriends, and I drove out an hour and a half to go see her, where she was. And I brought Hawk, the puppy dog, with us. And then we just walked around in this, like, this little town. We found this little bench, and it was the full moon, except for we couldn't, it was some big solar eclipse full moon,
Yeah, it was some
and
big
so like
thing.
lunar eclipse and some big moon, and you know, we just sat on the bench and started talking, and then we like was sat there and we like kissed for like 2 hours. We were just sat on the bench and just, you know, enjoyed each other's company and each other's time, and it was really neat. And then even our dog Hawk, you know how on those wooden benches there, it's about probably like 2 inches thick, the back rail, because he was there because, you know, he was on a leash at that time, because this is, I just had gotten him, and you know, came from a kind of, you know, rough dogs. The dogs were really rough. They'd attack other dogs and things. So I had to keep him on a leash. He was climbing up on the bench, all four paws on that little, and he's like 100 pound, you know, half pit bull, half Presa Canario. He's like a massive dog that he just kind of hung out with us, and you know, like he was trying to climb up on our shoulders, and it was just like, it was a really magical time, that first time that we were, you know, together. And then, you know, it just kind of, the feeling was just felt so right, and it's like I've known her before this, you know, lifetime. And it's, you know, I think that we've been together, you know, long before, you know, we've come here to earth on this journey.
It's like the real in the surreal, you know, like
Yeah.
it must have been extreme. It must have been really like pinch yourself surreal. Like this is real. I mean, but it's surreal, but it's real. But and then with Hawk, and you mentioned Hawk earlier, and I didn't know if I heard you right, but so it sounds like that energetically he's part of this somehow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, she's, you know, like he just like loves her and her daughter. Like, you know, he's a big dog, and like he came, like, you know, like he had a little rough time, you know, of, you know, through things. And you know, so he's like, he pulls all the time on the leash, but soon as her, like, and her, you know, at the time 10-year-old daughter, she's 11 now, would go take him for a walk, he would never pull her, and he would, like, you know, he would just know that she was
Sounded
like,
sounded like y'all need a little
Protect.
y'all needed a little divine feminine frequency in your field. So
yeah.
the kiss, who busted the move?
I don't know. I probably came onto him. I won't lie. I'm like super attracted to Jesse. I love any moment I get to spend with him
Whew,
and
it's getting hot
kiss
in here.
him and put my hands on him, and it makes me happy. But you know, like, and I don't know, he's amazing too. Like, he's sent me to other worlds, and I'm blown away by him. So I don't know. I think like we have gone to other planets, we've gone to other worlds, we've been high as a kite just off each other, you know, like, and it's I I couldn't have found anything better in the world. Like,
Are you noticing any peripheral magic? You know, like on the outer bounds of your energy field, like other people finding their partners, or just people noticing you for no reason, or you know, almost like you're illuminated when you're together, and people notice. Are you noticing anything magical occurring outside of your own space between the two of you?
There's always been, and like I've always felt, you know, like people have noticed me, kids and animals, and would always notice my energy when I walk by, and things. So being with her, it's just, you know, heightened everything for me. And you know, she's a strong energetic. Like I've got problems with my hips and problems, you know, like you know, my hip joints, that's bone on bone, so my legs are sore quite a bit. And you know, she like walks up and down my legs, massages my legs, and you know, really, you know, she's a really big healer with her hands and her feet and stuff. But when I was, and we live in different cities, you know, we're still living in different cities right now, about 3 hours away from each other. And this was kind of during the beginning, and when I'd be having some pain, and she was like, let me just focus. And I'm driving in my car, and she's just, let me just focus and send you some energy into your legs. And she's like, she would literally she could feel me, send me energy, and all of a sudden the intense pain in my legs would just go away. So I felt this, like, this intense, outer bound power that she had without even being like 3 hours away. She could help heal my legs and help make me feel better, from a very, very long distance. So it's a very powerful, strong
really
connection.
strong connection. Yeah.
And love probably has nothing to do with it. What about like people that knew you both before and after? Have they said anything? Have they noticed anything?
Well, my friends are really, really happy, and they notice how happy I am. And, even like my daughter is, just like, she hasn't met Angeline yet, but, she's, or one of them. And she was like, saying just how she notices how happy I am, and how, it just feels that this is such a good connection. And, so yeah, so friends are really happy for me, because they can see that she really lights me up.
On my side, like one big one that stands out is my daughter, my youngest daughter, and him. Like I was just like, I'm just stepping back. These guys have their own relationship. Like they developed their own language. They like, they would just talk to each other and start making faces. It's like they were like this. They knew each other or something. Like it was pretty amazing, and that was pretty awesome and mind blowing for me, because that was important to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of things falling into place rapidly, very rapidly. But
Yeah.
you used the word comfortable at the top of the show, and I thought that kind of sums it all up. It's a very natural kind of thing. Observing you, Angeline, what do you admire the most about Jesse? What is it that you love? What is it that you love about him?
It'd be harder to think of what I don't admire about
Well,
Jesse.
we know you're into his body already. You've already alluded to that. I'm kidding. But I mean, is there something that you just admire about him that wow.
Yeah, his strength for sure. He's kind of got this attitude of uh, you either do it or you don't. You
Mm.
just it's not a matter of like how do I explain this? It's not like a matter of finding out or whatever. He's like, no, we do it.
You
You
just
know what
do
I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just he's
Enough of
got
the
that
talking.
trait to him, like I'm so used to like I don't think I've ever held him back with this, because I was in a place where I was ready to like trust, right? But in past, and most people I know would be like, well, let's think about this, and let's like let's think about this to the point where we don't like do anything or blah blah blah, and right, and he's just like, we just do it. You don't think about it, you do it. It's right, you do it. You just, right, it's like, this is what we're doing, we do it, right? Like it was just, and that's kind of the attitude he has, that like gets him places, right? Like
Hmm.
people would be like, how'd you do this? He's like, I did it. It's
I
like
just did it.
right, so that's kind of him. Like I don't know, I think because his life was, it was a crazy life, and it taught him to like trust, I think, and you just do it, right? Like you trust. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's always safe. He's got a lot of life experience. I trust him with my life. And he's just showing me over and over again how much I can trust him, like with whatever adventure we're on, that I feel that maybe I feel like nervous about or whatever. He's always had me, and that was huge for me. Like if I'd go and try something new or whatever, like even energetically, not just physically, but energetically, I could feel him. Like he
Right.
would he would surround me. He would always have me. I could feel his energy there with me, and I would feel like safe, like he's got me, right? So that's made life a lot more A lot nicer. Better for me.
a lot hot, a lot sweatier, a lot hotter.
Yeah, especially with all the dancing.
And Jesse, what about Angeline? What do you admire the most about her?
Well, for everything that she's gone through in her life, for her to still be so beautiful, like such a precious, innocent flower, and not let the hardships of all the things that she's gone through to turn her into a cold-hearted bitch, which, it happens to a lot of people that, they turn it into hard, and they hate the world. And, she just hated her body, but when she was able to learn to love herself again, it was like this brand new woman. And, for me, I've been able to experience her just blooming out of that flower, like she's just, came into this existence for the first time. And I've admire her for her strength, for being able to go through all that she's gone through and still be as precious as she is.
Mm.
You know what I love too is that we've kind of come to a place where like Jesse will be doing something and I'm like just so in love with him, just like for who he is. And he'll be like, what? Like, what did I do? And same with me. Like, he'll just like laugh. I'll make him laugh or I'll make him smile and I'll be like, I don't know what I did. Like, what did I do? But just something about each other. Like, we're very in love with each other. And it's the more fun the further we go, because we realize the more we're ourselves, the more we're like in love with each other. So it keeps getting
there's so many contrasts with you. I mean, like, Jesse said that 30 years. I mean, the disclosure, platforms and research, and the the conviction that you have, and then of course you're the same with the conviction, but you're like a fairy.
I'm the researcher too. I'm actually a very big time researcher, but my focus is more in health and healing. Mm-hmm. And he came in and he knew a lot about the world and politics, and he knew a lot about health and stuff too. But so I think it's a really cool thing when we come together and we can like share ourselves with the world, because we both have like, as soon as we get going, as soon as we start like sharing our stuff with the world, we like feed off each other. And I'll be like, oh yeah, and this, and he'll be like, oh yeah, and this, and that, and we like really like put it out there. We bring this balance to each other where we don't forget either part, right? Like, he's very convicted and strong in a lot of things, and so am I, and they line up, and that's huge, right?
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And so, there's a lot of talk about the third energy in this age of the Trinity, and the third energy that these types of connections create. Some of that could just strictly be non-physical, or there's no boundaries on that. But are you aware? I mean, are you starting to? I know you did the show with us the other day. I think Jesse said it was the first time you'd done that on that particular platform, it sounds like. But are there things that you're working on together, like manifesting and building together in that regard?
I think we have. I think we have dreams, and when we hear them, we're both excited about them, and we both want to back each other up in different ways. So, when Jesse started out a lot of things, I was like really backing him up, and I was excited. And I think I'm in a stage now. Like, I think we put in a lot of time together, and did a lot of things together with some of the stuff that was being birthed from Jesse, and then I think right now I'm in a bit of a transformative stage. I'm not as like, it's easier with Jesse because when he knows what he wants, he knows what he wants. He knows how to ask for it. He knows how to be, like I said, brave, bold, direct, right? And I'm a little more like passive and a little more like, I don't know what to do and I don't know, right? So I have a lot of dreams that are coming up now that I want to birth. It feels a little slower. I'm also coming out of a lot more chaos and trying to get things organized. But But he, like, whenever we're talking about it, he's like, yeah, and I can do this, and let's go, and just tell me what to do, and da 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 da. So, like, he's just as ready to back me up. And so I see a lot of things coming, and that are gonna, develop and unfold in all that we are. and come together. He's a painter and I'm an artist, and we just keep linking things together on how we can tie that together. He needs easier work too, because the painting's super hard on his body, on his hips, and I'm like, I helped him paint, and I'm like, dude, I know why you're hurting. Like, this is hard work. Like, I was hurting. I'm like, now I'm the person limping around here too. So um
we're still trying to figure out a way that we're
yeah.
going to financially, things are going to go. And, she's very creative, and she's got a table coming up at some women's group thing. And I said, let's get at it. What do I need to sew? And like, I can do anything. Like I have that type of ability in the mind that it doesn't matter what it is, I can do anything. And so, I said I'll help her with this or help her create these things. We're gonna do some furniture pours where you do the 2-part epoxies and make some tables, and we're gonna do different things like that. So I think because she's so creative, and I'm really good with my hands, we gonna build some things and see where it that lies. But right now, the universe is open to whatever happens, and things are a little crazy in the world right now. And what I've been telling her and a lot of people, it's hard to really plan ahead when things are so uncertain in these uncertain times right now. So if we can just focus on creating some of her art things and getting that out there, that'll light her up and make her happy, and then who knows where that may lead us.
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
trying to support each other in what inspires us. Like, I strongly believe in following what lights you up, following what inspires you, because what lights you up is what's going to put fire in the world, right? It's going to help the world. It's going to shine a light for the world. So I was so excited when I saw him doing interviews, and I'm like, dude, that's your thing. Like, that's, you're lit up. You like how do you sit there and always just have the next question ready to fire like nothing? And I'm like, I see the people around him shooting him this question, the next, like, on the other side of the veil. They're like, they're there. They're like prepping him for everyone, and it lights him up, and it's what he loves, and it's connection. He loves that quality time with people and getting to know and digging deep and investigating. Like, it's a lot of stuff that lights him up, and I was super excited for that and wanting him to go on that. And what lights me up is loving people, and I just like to talk to people one-on-one. I think especially when it comes to healing, if they're ready for it, right? And and being creative. Like, I love art. To me, art is spiritual. It's meditative, and I think I have a strong desire to teach people how to do different art things. And so, yeah, I just like to make things that make people smile and make them happy. It's something that feel like, you have something special, and every time you look at it, you're like, oh, like, it feels good, right? That's kind of what I want to create in my world.
That's what I say about Morgan. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But so you had talked about when you came together that it was fire, and it was like this, and I like that. I like the way you did that, rather than it was like, and then like it seems like. Anyway, what I'm looking for is what we call triggers, or when you're out of alignment. You must have come into that type of thing. That must have been to some degree what you were talking about. How did y'all, or do y'all handle times when you're out of alignment, either with yourself or with each other or whatever, or it's just the energy that's coming down? How do you approach that?
I think it's really like really nice now, really calm place. I think at the beginning he came out of a really rough, tough world, and he was very fiery, and I was very like sensitive, and I think we had to like learn each other, right? I was like, I think we just really had to learn each other. Like,
So you were like, "Hey, dude, you need to calm down. You need to calm down a little bit." And he was like, "Hey, it's okay. You can come out and play." Right? I mean, like,
Basically.
yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you had those early times, I realize it's different now because I think a lot of people could learn from what you might have experienced. But or was there any set way you did it, or did you just talk about it? Did you work with your guides? I mean, how did you get through? How did you smooth those periods out?
She really fought for us. And, for times that I would just get hot headed and just want to just, I need space. Whenever I get some emotions, I just kind of need space. And then she just didn't let it go. And she just, she fought for us. And, that was a really big part of, knowing that, she really did like me and, like me for who I am, and not what I am.
Hmm. Wow.
And for me, it was a lot of trust, because I do tend to want to go into worry mode, and I had to like really learn to be like fight where fighting was needed, made sure that what was needed to be put out there was put out there, what needed to be known was known, but then I really had to like let go and trust, right? And so that was a lot of me going off and dealing with myself and my own vibration, and what am I freaking out about here that I need to like calm down so I can think clearer, right? Like I would be really afraid. I would be really afraid of losing him. I'd be really afraid of um and that was kind of his default. Like, everyone comes in with different attachment styles, and I think his might have been like a distant attachment style. So, and when you're with an anxious person and then you're like, you want to go distant, it's like makes the anxious person anxious, right? So it was really just learning each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the anxious person will often make the distance, the person who needs the space, like, right? So, just, but I was in a mature enough place where I had learned a lot about that stuff with myself, and learning about myself, that I knew that I just had to like really trust. Like I had to get brave enough to put my words out there, and then I had to trust. And I really just stepped back and watched Jesse, I think, with himself and with Source, and just trusting that he was figuring it out. That's one thing I had to learn about Jesse, is that even though he's very like out there on some things, like I remember when I first met him, I started learning. He'd be like, "Oh, this," and I believe this, and then I'd be like, talk to him like a day or 2 days about it, and be like, "Oh, I don't believe that anymore." Like that was Jesse. He would just take things really like, he was very fiery about things and passionate about things, but right at the first get go. But then he would like take them in, and he'd really like
Yeah.
contemplate them and talk to Source about them and
Yeah.
ground himself in his heart, and then he'd be like, hey, now I know where I am. And so I learned that about him, right? That he can come off really fiery and stuff, but then if you just like, if I trust his heart, and he has a good heart, and I trust that he's gonna take this, and he always figures out what's best and in alignment for him and his heart. So I let him just take that, and he would just like, I would be nervous, but then he would just be like, here I am. Like he would be back, he'd be grounded, he'd have it figured out, he'd be more here than ever, right? And I just
He just likes to make it colorful.
no, it's
I love what you said about basically. I'll just use my own words, but you're like, you support him to be in his heart. You keep him, help keep him in his heart. Are you something
no,
with his
I don't
heart?
even have to. I just
Yeah,
trust his heart.
trust his
I don't
heart.
have to
Yeah,
keep him in his heart. But here's the thing: if if there's something going on and I'm like, wow, like all over the place, he can't go back and like be with himself. right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, if I let him know where I am, you know, it's like, okay, you know where I am. I love you. I'm here. I don't want this to end. I don't know what thoughts are going through your head. Like, he doesn't know what thoughts are going through my head sometimes. I'll let him know where I am in that solidarity. And
Wow.
then I would just like
That's
trust
that's
him
powerful. That's
with
powerful. Yeah.
trust him with whatever he needs
Yeah.
to um
You
take.
stay to him.
And then he just comes and he's like so loving. He's so amazing. Like, I think everybody comes into relationships with baggage and crap and
Yeah.
fears and things like that. We think we project, right, like from our past stuff and whatever, and we think, oh, here it is again, or like we're all afraid of those things. And so when you're first with somebody, you have to realize that a lot of stuff has to be undone, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that just takes a lot of communication and a lot of trust, right? And it's showing. It's not so much about words as it is like showing, right? Because
Yeah.
when you see it and you feel it, you start to be like, oh, okay, like this person is really here. This person is like, you know, this person's really here. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm
It's like
here.
Jessie said about you. She actually likes me, and she doesn't have an agenda. She just likes me, right? That's what you
Yeah.
were saying. God, it's full of full of code. Well, I really appreciate y'all coming in. This is our fifth and final show today, and I can't think of a better way to end the day. It's been a powerful day, a powerful follow up to a powerful weekend. But yeah, you guys are a breath of fresh air, and it's really an honor to sit with you and share space. So I just want to say thank you very much, and all blessings to the two of you and, all your family and your dreams.
Thanks a lot, Todd, and appreciate you having us on here. And you know, we don't get asked to do many interviews or whatever. Like, you know, with our missing link, we've had in the last 10 months 125 interviews, and we've interviewed all kinds of people like David Icke and Judy Mikovits and Lee Camp, and a lot of these big famous people. But we don't often get asked, and I think this is the first time we've been asked to come on as a couple and stuff. So we really appreciate you even being interested to want to like talk to us and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean,
that,
but like I think one of you said it about the other, that the world needs to see him or her. I don't know which one of you. It doesn't matter because I'm looking at a mirror here, a couple of twins. But um, yeah, I think the world. We feel that uh, the really the full uh, downloads and transmissions and experiences and code is available through being being able to observe and share space with these energies that are prevailing, regardless of what it looks like out there. But it's like the power of love is dominating. It's the real virus. I don't know, but it's a pleasure and an honor to have sat down with you, and I hope to do it again later in the year.
yeah, anytime. And what you said before about the people noticing, have you had noticed people noticing us and stuff? Definitely online,
Yeah.
like because of, our little online videos and going getting water and, her being on the High Vibe Love Tribe and us being together. People have noticed it. People have said it, I wish we can get a love like that. I need to find someone like you guys have. We need to find that. So we do get that a lot, from a lot of people on the online world. This last 2 years and, the year and a half that we've been, really hanging out a lot, we just, because of the way everybody's away from each other, not a lot of people talk to each other out in public, and, not a lot of, interaction on the outside. So we're not seeing that, I guess, as much because, we just go do our thing. We go to the grocery stores, we go, whether or not we were going to a movie or like go with our little unit, we're not really going out and communicating with a lot of other people. But we do get that a lot online from people about how they can see this connection and how beautiful it is, and they're inspired by it, and they can feel it and passionate, and hope that they can find something like that one day. So we do feel that a lot from the people online.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow the fairy tale. That's what I always say. Hey, you guys take care. I really
Hey,
enjoyed it.
thanks. Love you, Todd,
Love
and
you
sending
too.
love to